face down in the desert now. There's a cage locked around my heart. I found a way to drop the keys where my failures were. Now my hands can't reach that far. I ain't made for rivalry. I could never take the world alone. I know that in my weakness I am strong. It's your love that brings me home. Oh, let me be your shelter. Never leave you all alone. I can be the one you call when you're low. Oh, let me be your fortress in the night with the darling on. Be the one to light the way, bring it home. Oh, let me be your shelter. Never leave you all alone. I can be the one you call when you're low. Oh, let me be your fortress in the night with the darling on. Be the one to light the way, bring it home. Brother, let me be your shelter. Never leave you all alone. I could be the one to call when you feel it all. Brother, let me be your fortress in the night with the darling on. Be the one to light the way, bring it home. Brother, let me be your shelter. Never leave you all alone. I can be the one you call when you're low. Brother, let me be your fortress in the night with the darling on. Be the one to light the way, bring it home. Brother, let me be your shelter. Brother, let me be your shelter. Don't ever be your shelter.
All right. Happy Wednesday, guys. Hi, Josh. Unless you're new, you probably realized by now that I'm not Josiah. I'm Hope. Josiah, unfortunately, has a bit of a stomach bug, so he is not here tonight, but he did pre-record his message, so we will still get to hear from him, just not in person. But first, we're just going to go over a couple announcements. Matt? First, we've got our Grace Young Adults Instagram page. Go ahead, give that a follow. There's some updates on there for different sermon series and special events. Easter volunteer opportunities. We are in the process of building sets for both Middleburg Heights and Olmsted Falls for the big Easter services. We need lots of help. If you are available to help, either with building or like myself, I'm painting a bunch of stuff tomorrow. You don't have to have any experience. They're going to show you how to do it. But if you're free and you're interested, please contact Bill Bodenschatz at the email on the screen right there, or scan the QR code. Pre-YA prayer, Wednesdays at 6 o'clock. If you're interested, it's open to all. If you have not already joined our group chat, go ahead and scan that QR code. It's starting to get a little bit more lively now. We're starting to plan some more get-togethers, and especially in the summer, we like to get together and do lots of walks and other activities. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and get on that. And then our mailing list, that just more so gives any updates. We'll let you know if YA is canceled or if there's a special series or just any announcements that are coming up. So go ahead and scan that one as well. Then also, we've got lots of great counselors here at Grace. If there's anything that you need to talk with somebody about, you can go ahead and go to gracecma.org/counseling to set up an appointment. They're really great people, and they're really good at helping people get through past hurts and traumas or current hurts and traumas. The Grace Greenhouse residency, actually the applications for that are currently closed, so we can just go ahead and skip that one. Then if you're a Baldwin Wallace student, we would love to get in contact with you about maybe getting the word out to other students, or just about if we can get maybe carpools going for students that are at BW. We'd love to just get to know you and get you included in our young adult community. You can skip that one. Then also our household moving team. If you're interested in being part of that, it would be for helping seniors, single women, disabled individuals, and special needs families who attend Grace Church that need help with moving. If you're willing to be part of that team, you can sign up through the QR code on the screen. And then a really exciting thing coming up on Sunday. It's our official comeback Sunday here at Grace. We're trying to get those that have been in the online community for the majority of the pandemic to be feeling welcome to come back. And also we're going to be opening up our cafe again. If you're familiar with that from years past, it was in the activities center, and we had lots of delicious baked goods and coffee. So if you're interested, please come hang out with us. And then if you happen to be there and you see any young adults that you haven't met yet, or that you know that don't come to young adults yet, go ahead and give them an invite to come hang out with us. All right, so we've got an icebreaker tonight. So we're gonna do 10 minutes, and we're going to do 10 things in common. So what we're going to do is go ahead and find 2 people in the room that you do not know, or at least that you do not know well, and then just try to find 10 things you have in common with one another. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Can we get some music going?
Ocean, I'm ankle deep. I feel the waves crash rising quick. And for years I was scared of it. We can't be sure when it will subside. So I won't leave your side. No, I can't leave your side. Hey, now this is my desire. Consume me like a fire. 'Cause I just want something beautiful to touch me. I know that I'm in reach. 'Cause I am down on my knees. I'm waiting for something beautiful.
If every flower were a rose its beauty would not be trampled on like blades of grass. Red roses would not be a thing. Oh God, what simple fool would think the yellow sunflower they stand too tall? Oh God, what simple fool would think the purple iris far too dark? Oh little one, there's none like you, handcrafted so perfectly. By God Himself, He gave you life, the breath of whom all living things. If every flower were a rose its beauty would not be. You're beautiful like no one else. You're one of a kind, made perfectly. Oh God, what simple fool would think those daffodils with their silly bells? Oh God, what simple fool would think those lilies and their petals pale? Oh God, oh We were born with a light and a fire in our eyes, a part of you inside us. Before fear and doubt came along and put it out, poisoned us to forget about. Oh, if I can hear just one word from your mouth, hearts will break, blood will pump through my veins again, and I'll come to my senses. I'll come to my senses. I'll come to my senses. As the world dies from this disease, there is more I want to be, brave enough to slay the beast, bold enough to begin to suck the poison from my friends and spit it out, don't take it in. Dare to walk another way, dare to talk of a
All right, let's wrap up those conversations. Say goodbye to your new friend, or maybe take him back to your table. And then there's two more additional announcements. So next Wednesday, we're going to be having a special Easter service here. There's going to be art, music, and a message, and you don't want to miss it. And also, 2 weeks from now, we're going to be having an Easter egg exchange. So Josiah would like us all, if we can, to find a trinket small enough to put in an Easter egg to give to someone else, or you can also put your favorite Bible verse or an inspiring quote in the egg, and you can either bring your own plastic egg, or we will also have plastic eggs here to do this as well. So that's going to be 2 weeks from today, and next week's the Easter service. So we're going to put Josiah's little sermon on now.
Hey everybody. Glad you're at Young Adults tonight. Wish I was there with you, but I'm not feeling great. I figured it'd probably be better if I had to stop in the middle of my message to go throw up. To do that here at home and not with you, where I can just edit it right out and it's nice and clean for you. Tonight's message is called Made of Words. Let me start with a story. The summer before my freshman year in high school, I moved from Colorado out to Oregon. And so the first semester of that year, I was pretty new, a little bit nervous about being there at this new school, making new friends, all that. And one day, in the middle of class, the door opened up and somebody walked in with a pink slip and handed it to the teacher. That got everybody's attention because the pink slips were the bad ones. The pink slips meant you were in trouble. Yellow slips just meant you forgot your lunch or something. But the pink slip meant that you were going to the principal's office, and it was never good. And so a pink slip was handed to the teacher. Everybody was at the edge of their seat to see what would happen next, to see who would have to take this walk of shame from their seat up to the teacher. And I heard my name called. It was me. I was going to the principal's office. I was super surprised. I was a pretty rule follower type guy and didn't have any idea why I would be in trouble. And everybody was like, "Ooh, Josiah, what'd you do?" And I was like, I have no idea. But I went up and grabbed the pink slip and made that long walk to the principal's office. I had only been in a principal's office one time before. That was elementary school. The principal's name in my elementary school was Richard Little, and he happened to go by Dick Little. And for some reason I will never be able to understand, he put his name on the door with the last name first. And so my friend and I got sent to the principal's office for messing around in recess or something, and we laughed about that. Why wouldn't you just go by Rick? Anyways, way off topic. So I'm sitting there in the entryway to the principal's office in high school. Mr. John was his name. And he calls me in, and I go into his office, and he closes the door. And now, you gotta understand, this guy was really cool, actually. This principal was amazing. He would learn everybody's name within the first 2 weeks of school, and this was a big school, 1,600 students. Somehow he would memorize all our names, and then we'd walk by, and he'd say hi to us. He really cared about kids. And so I think it was part of the reason why I really didn't want to let him down, because he was a really cool guy. And so I was like really confused. I'm trying to make a good impression at this new school. And he says, "Josiah, do you know why you're in here?" And I was like, "Sorry, I have no idea." And he said, "Well, I was looking at your progress report." And I was like, "What? You look at the progress reports for all the students? Okay." I was looking at your progress report, and there's some C's on here. And my next thought, I didn't say it out loud, was, is getting a C a crime or something? And he said, "I also looked at your sister's report card." I'm like, "Oh boy." And hers has all A's on it. And I looked back at her report card from your other school in Colorado, and she had all A's there too. And so the reason I called you into my office is because Stumbos are A students, he said. And those were words that shaped the next 4 years of my life. He told me to get my grades up, and guess what I did? I got straight A's in high school. Now, I'm not saying that to brag. I don't actually think that might have even been the best thing for me, because I didn't take some honors classes because I was afraid to get a B. And my stress level in high school was very high because I was an A student, right? Stumbos are A students, and so I had to live up to that. But the point I'm trying to make is that those words, Stumbos are A students, landed somewhere deep within me and actually shaped who I became. I became an A student because my principal called me into his office and told me I'm an A student. And so that's what I became. We're made of words. The words people tell us, especially the encouraging words people tell us, shape us to become who we will become. I think there's a problem there, though. If we're made of words, a lot of us actually have a deficit of encouragement. So if we're made of words and not very many good ones, we might feel like incomplete, or we might feel a lack of confidence, or we might feel like we're lacking pieces of this puzzle that make up who we are. If I'm made of words, but I don't have a lot of building blocks supporting the structure, I probably feel pretty fragile. So the reason that I wanted to share this message tonight, even though I'm not feeling great, I needed you guys to hear that we have the power to give something very important to each other. And I really, really want Grace Young Adults to be a place where we begin to build one another up, that we actually begin to shape each other, that we actually begin to put the pieces of the puzzle back in place where they were meant to be, where we begin to put courage inside of one another. That's what encourage means, that we would put courage inside of one another by being generous with words of encouragement, words that build one another up. Now, that's kind of an extreme statement that we're made of words. Why would I say that? The reason I'm saying that is because I'm using the same metaphor that Paul used throughout Scripture. He used it very clearly and very often throughout his whole ministry, from early on in his letter writing to later on in his letter writing, later in his life. He consistently used this one metaphor about encouragement. He used the word build each other up. Let's look at 1 Thessalonians 5:11. It says, "Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing." In Ephesians 4:29, he says the same metaphor. He says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up, according to their needs, that they might benefit those who listen." Notice on this one, he's specifically talking about words. Don't let talk come out of your mouth that's not going to be helpful. Only let talk come out of your mouth that is going to be helpful for building into another person, for building another person up. Romans 14:19 is another one. It says, "Let us make every effort to do what leads to peace and mutual edification Edification is the same word that they maybe use for the word edifice, which is a building, right? You can see it's actually the exact same word in Greek. For some reason, translators decided to use the English word edification here, and they use building others up in the other passages. But in Greek, Paul wrote the same word, oikonomeo, for building each other up in all of these passages. There's another one in Romans 15:2. Each of us should please our neighbors for their good, to build them up. Same Greek word. 1 second. Sorry. If I didn't edit that out, I'm double sorry. Each of us should please our neighbors for their good, to build them up. 1 Corinthians 14:2-3. This one actually gives us some really interesting insight. It says, but the one who prophesies speaks for their strengthening. And that word strengthening is the same exact word for building others up, encouraging and comfort. So a prophet is actually meant to be a person who builds others up. So all these words here, build each other up, edification, and strengthening, are the same Greek word, oikodome. Now, you guys could probably go back in the video and see if I said that word right before. Now I'm reading it. Oikodome or oikodomeo. To make something by combining materials and parts. It's literally construction, right? It's literally a construction word about using materials to build something. The same word is used in other parts of Scripture, speaking more literally about constructing buildings. In Mark 12:1, it says, a man built a watchtower, oikodome. In Luke 6:48, a man built a house, oikodome. In Acts 7:47, Solomon built a house, oikodome. Same exact word that Paul uses for building one another up. So build up is actually the best definition, best translation for all of these passages, because it really is Paul's using a metaphor here when he says that we should use our words to build each other up. He's saying we're actually providing structure for their inner person. We're actually strengthening their sense of who they are. We're actually strengthening and bolstering and supporting who they can become in the world. We're actually shaping their future. We're shaping their perception of themselves. We are adding material to what they can work with when they think, what am I capable of doing? We actually take our words of encouragement as like bricks that build into the person, so that as they go out into the world and they go to make a difference in the world, or they go to step out in courage, or they go to step out in faith, or they go to help somebody else, or they go to do something against the odds, they have a support system inside of them that has been built by the words of other people. I believe in you. You can do it. I see it in you. I see the potential in you to do big things. And because of those words of encouragement, they go out and do big things. I hope this is making sense. This metaphor of building one another up is really powerful. Paul meant it. He meant that our words could actually be given to somebody else to add something to them that they didn't necessarily have before. Encouragement. Putting courage inside of somebody else. Let that sink in for a second. With your words, you have the power to shape somebody, to actively shape who somebody becomes. Our words have the power to make people who they will become. It's a really beautiful thing, but if we let it sink in, it also feels like a pretty powerful responsibility. It happened to me when my principal called me into his office and said, Stumbos are A students. And there really was something that ignited in my mind that said, I do like learning, and I bet I could figure out how to get A's. Because he told me I could get A's. Before that, it was like my sister's the one who gets A's. But he told me I would, and I did. Just for fun, let's take a look at the movie Captain Marvel. and watch the turning point in Carol Danvers' life. She's the superhero Captain Marvel. She needed somebody to add the missing piece of the puzzle. So we're going to only watch 1 minute of a clip from the movie. And in this clip, right beforehand, Carol Danvers' whole world had just shattered. She learned information about her life that completely changed her perception of how everything worked in the world. And so she's kind of lost for a moment. So that's where we pick up.
You don't know me. You have no idea who I am. I don't even know who I am.
You're Carol Danvers. You were the woman on that black box risking her life to do the right thing. My best friend, who supported me as a mother and a pilot when no one else did. You were smart and funny and a huge pain in the ass. And you were the most powerful person I knew. Way before you could shoot fire from your fists. You hear me? Do you hear me? Come here. Come here, girl. I got you.
I think the reason that this pulls at our heartstrings is because it resonates with something deep inside of us. We've all been made in the image of God. That means we have this imprint of God within us. And so when we realize that we have the power to speak life into somebody else, to speak something into somebody else that wasn't necessarily there before, courage that wasn't there before, fortification that wasn't there before, the ability to go out and step out into the world in confidence in a way that wasn't there before, when we realize that we have this power within us, we're actually echoing the Creator. We're echoing the Creator who spoke and everything came into existence. And then right away, he spoke to humanity and told us what our purpose is. In Genesis 1:28, it says, God blessed them. Right from the beginning, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. And from that moment forward, humanity had an understanding of who we are and what our place is on this earth as caretakers of this whole earth. As the ones who get to move society forward, who get to innovate and create and make this place a blessing for other humans to multiply and fill. That was because God spoke into the first humans and it became who they became. In Genesis 12:1-4, we see God speaking to Abraham, and the whole nation of Israel was born from the words of encouragement from God. He says, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. And here's the encouragement. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. So Abram went as the Lord had told him. God spoke this into his life, even though he didn't have any kids yet, right? God spoke it into his life saying, you are going to be the father to many nations. You're going to be a blessing to all nations. And that's what he became. In Exodus, we see God do it with Moses. Moses is timid. He doesn't think he's a very good speaker, and God sends him before Pharaoh to go let the people go. He shows up, before he sends him, he shows up in this burning bush and reveals himself to Moses. And as he reveals himself, he's got some encouragement to give Moses. God says, the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I've seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them, so now go. I'm sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, who am I? Just like Carol Danvers, you don't even know who I am, right? Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you. And then there's this fascinating exchange between Moses and God. But ultimately, Moses goes. He doesn't go in the confidence that he should have gone in, but he goes and does something incredibly powerful, right? And from that moment on, his character is shaped, and he becomes this mighty leader of Israel. Even though we could see in this interaction, he wasn't quite there yet. God's words were putting courage and putting leadership and putting authority and putting confidence and putting boldness into Moses by saying, I'm choosing you to do it, and I'm going to be with you the whole time. In Isaiah, we see it again. Isaiah 6, 1 through 9, I probably won't read this whole thing, but it says, in the year that King Uzziah died, and this is Isaiah speaking, I saw the Lord high and exalted, seated on a throne. So Isaiah has this vision of God. And it's beautiful, this heavenly scene. You should read it sometime. But verse 5 says, woe to me, I cried. I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. And my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. Who am I to look at God? And then one of the seraphim flew to me, that's an angel, flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from the altar. With it he touched my mouth and said, see, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And Isaiah says, here I am, send me. And he said, go and tell this people. And then he goes on to prophesy. So God chooses Isaiah, and he puts him through this whole process of seeing his sin and realizing that he needs God's mercy and God's grace and atonement from God for his sins. And he comes to this humble place where God is able to speak to him and say, yeah, you're the one, go. And Isaiah's life changes, and he becomes a person who prophesies to the whole nation of Israel because God puts courage in him. There's a ton of New Testament examples as well. I won't spend the whole night giving examples about God encouraging people or God using people to encourage others, but I want you to see that this is in the very heart of who God is, to encourage with words. That God uses words all throughout Scripture to put courage in people. You see it with Mary. The angel appears and right away is encouraging her because she's about to go through something incredibly difficult, right? Become pregnant while not being married. And then to go through this whole life of people wondering, like, what actually happened? So, and the encouragement comes right from the beginning. Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you. Do not be afraid. You have found favor with God. That shaped Mary's identity. That shaped Mary's ability to say, okay, Lord, whatever it is you're asking me to do, I'll do it. And that was her response. Isn't that beautiful? Well, there's so many more examples. At one point, the heavens opened up and the Father himself spoke to Jesus and said, this is my Son, who I love. With him I am well pleased. So even among the Trinity, there's encouragement. There's speaking words of life to each other. Jesus looked at Nathanael before he was a disciple and pointed him out among the crowd and said, look, here is a true Israelite in whom there's no deceit. A pure-hearted Israelite, not trying to trick anybody. That became part of Nathanael's identity, and he was one of the 12 disciples. He was willing to say, yes, this is the one I'm going to follow for the rest of my life, even if I die for it, because Jesus spoke words of life to him, specific, catered to actually who he really was, a person of authenticity, right? And Jesus saw it, and Jesus called it out, and something grew inside of Nathanael that gave him courage to become one of the 12 disciples. So many. Peter, Jesus says, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. Somebody who didn't have a great track record up to that point, but Jesus saw who he was, saw his strength, saw who he was going to be, and spoke it into existence into Peter's life. Now, it needed to be continually reminded because he still floundered. But ultimately, when Jesus died and rose again, Peter became an apostle who went and spread the gospel miraculously and powerfully across the Middle East and did amazing things in his life. And Jesus had specifically spoken words into his heart, putting puzzle pieces there that hadn't really necessarily been there before. He built him up with his words. And then you see Paul in his letters to the churches with so much encouragement. Read some of the epistles. That's like towards the back of the Bible, all the short books that are usually letters that Paul wrote. A lot of them are letters that Paul wrote to churches, and they're just bursting with encouragement. Even the churches that aren't doing so great, he still has amazing things to say, to build them up, to speak life to them, to put things in them that he knows need to be there but aren't necessarily there until he speaks them into existence. I shouldn't say they weren't necessarily there. I think sometimes when we speak encouragement, it is something that's there, but the person isn't living into it. It's not part of their psyche. It's not part of their courage because they haven't seen it yet. We shouldn't be making things up. We shouldn't be encouraging people with things that aren't actually true about them. That won't build them up. That will be misleading and actually can cause some pain later on when they are confused. So all of these examples were things that God had created these people to be, and God is now speaking it to them so that they can receive it, so that they can believe it, so that they can step into it, so that they can own it, and so that they can go make a difference in the world because now they're living out what God had already put in them, what God had already created them to be. Building others up with words of encouragement is a profound act of love. The reason it's an act of love is because you have to pay attention to somebody else in order to effectively encourage them. Like I said, we're not making things up out of the blue. We're saying stuff that's actually true about people, and we're giving them the gift of strengthening what is there. So we have to get to know people. We can't be self-absorbed. I know it's really easy to be self-absorbed. I know that by experience. When I'm out reflecting, often on Fridays I'll get out and reflect a little bit. And when I'm reflecting about how I'm doing in my life, I'm almost always realizing, wow, I'm so self-absorbed, right? Like I think back over the week or I think back over what I've been thinking about, and it's usually myself, right? How I'm feeling, how I'm doing, what my dreams are, what my aspirations are, all the stuff that we think about. And it's not bad to be thinking about ourselves, but to be completely absorbed with ourselves is bad. We need to be thinking about other people. And so if we're going to effectively encourage others, and if we're going to regularly encourage others, we have to be regularly thinking about other people and noticing other people and thinking about what is really good about this person that maybe they don't quite believe yet, or maybe they do believe, but they'd be blessed to hear it again. So encouragement is a profound act of love because it takes us out of our self-absorption and helps us focus on other people. A lot of times when we say we'll pray for somebody, that can be super encouraging if we actually do it, right? But if we're too self-absorbed to ever remember to pray for them, it might be better not to say that we will. But if you feel compelled to tell somebody, hey, I'm praying for you, I see that this is a hard time in your life, or you're confused and you need some wisdom, whatever it is, if you tell somebody you're going to pray for them, take that opportunity to remember to pray for them and use this as a chance to encourage them, to see them next time and say, hey, I was praying for you. How are you doing? That can be so encouraging just to know that somebody else is lifting you up in prayer. So take it as a practical reminder. If you say to pray, you're going to pray for somebody, really do it, follow through. I usually actually pull up my phone and put it in my to-do list if I make the promise to pray for somebody, or I stop in the middle of the conversation and say, can we pray right now? Either one is great as long as you're following through with your promise to be praying for them. Second, this is an act of love because thinking of words that build people up requires that we see past the lies that they might be believing. Satan's language is lies. The devil's real. There's demons all around. That's not to scare any of us because Jesus is victorious. Jesus is stronger. When we have the life of Jesus in us, we have nothing to fear. But until Jesus comes back, Satan has free reign on this earth and has the ability to influence the thing. It can speak lies into our life. Now, as we continue to train ourselves, we really don't need to be afraid. I don't want anybody to leave this night being afraid of the enemy, but to be aware that the enemy is out there speaking lies to all of us. And from my experience, the strongest, most consistent, most powerful lies that the enemy has to give us are about the things that are most precious to us. So for me, like I've shared this several times before, but growing up, for me, my artistic side or my creative side of who I am was something that I was really self-conscious about. And I think it was because it was something that really mattered to me. It's a big part of my life. And so Satan knew that God was going to use this for good if I ever believed in it. And so he would always speak doubt into my life, making me doubt that creativity is even good, that there's even a place for art in the church, that it's even manly at all to do anything artistic, right? All the things that the enemy can throw at you. And I think he'll throw them at you at the places that feel the most vulnerable, the things that you probably desire the most because you know deep down that that's who you're created to be, right? But then the enemy can throw in a lot of self-doubt. And so when people are walking around feeling doubt about who they're called to be, if we can see past those lies that they're starting to buy into, and we can actually speak the truth, and we can counteract those lies that the enemy is giving people and say, you know what, I actually do see that in you. I actually do see whatever it is for the specific person. I see a gift of encouragement in you. Or I see a future where you're going to bless people by teaching. Or you know what? You're so good at making people feel comfortable. Or you know what? You're really insightful. And God's going to use the way that you see the world in powerful ways. Whatever it is, you're really smart. A lot of people have the lie always in their head that they're dumb or that they're never going to measure up, right? Those lies that sometimes we can sense that people believe them. And if our heart breaks for the lies that people believe, we'll be motivated and compelled to speak the truth to them out of love. So when we see past the lies that people are believing and speak life and truth into them, that can help them blossom into the person that God created them to be and overcome what the enemy is trying to do. It's also an act of love just because it's self-sacrificing. It actually takes some time. It actually takes some energy to think about somebody else and what might be encouraging to them. It takes some emotional energy, some relational energy to have a conversation that doesn't happen like totally naturally. You have to be the initiator of saying, hey, there's something I noticed about you that I want to tell you. You could write it in a note. You could say it out loud. You could text it. Sometimes the really meaningful stuff is so much more effective if you look them right in the eye and tell them the word of encouragement. Because there's something about human-to-human interaction that we all desperately need. And so that's like if our words are building blocks, when you can look somebody right in the eye and tell them of something about who they are, that's like the solid cinder blocks, right? That's really going to build up their lives. One thing I want to mention about this, and I'll get super practical and then I'll be done, is that we got to see ourselves as a team. Look around the room. I'm looking around the room in my mind, mentally. Probably most of you guys are on my left side, like you do. Nobody's sitting in the front tables, right? And think of these people as your team. We're on mission together to go spread the good news that Jesus offers abundant life now and eternally to all the world. That's our purpose. We're here to give the best news ever to the world that desperately needs good news. And we are here to do that together. We have each other to do that. Now, if we have the power to strengthen somebody, to truly bless somebody, to unleash the superpower that somebody has with our words, we got to be doing that. We should be chomping at the bit to be thinking of ways to encourage each other. We should be doing everything in our power to get ourselves out of our own self-absorption and think about what other people might like to hear, what other people might need to hear for their true self, the true thing that God put inside of them, the gift that God had put inside of them, and the actual personality that God put inside of them, and the freedom that God made them to have. We need to see the potential inside of each other, and if we have the words that could unleash that in somebody else, we gotta be generous with it. Why would we ever hold back? Why would we be stingy with this gift that really is not hard to give? It takes a little bit of thought, it takes a little bit of emotion, but it costs us no money, it costs us nothing else, and it could truly build into somebody the thing that they desperately need to hear, and it would unleash a teammate who is stronger, right? It would unlock something in your teammate that makes them more effective. There's some sports people in the room. I'm sure you will know, if you've been on team sports, that you go through these practices day by day, week after week. A lot of times you don't necessarily need the specific drill. You've got something mastered. But if your teammates don't have that specific skill mastered, you're willing to go through the drills with them until they master that skill, because you need your teammates to be able to very easily dribble that ball down the court, right? Or in my case, it was ultimate frisbee. I need people to be able to block on the correct side so that nobody's breaking so that the team doesn't break into the open side of the field and easily make a goal. We need everybody to be able to get on the same page. Everybody needs to be strengthened so that the whole team can be strengthened. If we're a team here, if we're on mission together here, we totally need each other to be strong, and we have the power and the ability to strengthen one another. And when we do, people are going to walk into this room and be transformed. People are going to walk into this room and have the things in their life that were missing in their psyche, the things that were missing in their confidence, be instilled in them by your words. And then we'll become this community that just continues to spread this good and beautiful news of Jesus everywhere. You catching that vision with me? We gotta be generous with our words of encouragement. I have a feeling I'm going too long, so let me give you some really practical things, but just really quickly. First, practical tip. Start with the obvious stuff. Start with the things that you think they actually probably already know. Like, if you see somebody and they're really artistic, tell them, hey, I love how creative you are. They probably need to hear it, even if you wouldn't believe that they would need to hear it. If you see somebody who's really good at sports, tell them, hey, I admire how much you dedicate your life to making yourself stronger. I think that's really cool. If you see somebody who's really gentle, call that out in them. Like, even if it's the first thing that you see in somebody else's life, almost especially if it's the first thing that you see, encourage them in that area and they'll grow. It's beautiful. It's probably the thing that they need to hear the most. Start with the obvious. Second, listen to the Spirit. Like I said, this is God's language. God speaks the words of life to people. And so if you want a really cool exercise in hearing the voice of God, take some moments in your prayer time to say, Lord, who can I encourage today? And wait for somebody to pop into your head. And then when they pop into your head, say, Lord, what specifically do you want me to highlight about them? And you might start thinking about their smile, right? And so then you text them and say, hey, your smile really brightens up the world. It doesn't have to be as cheesy as that. But the Holy Spirit will speak to us and guide us in how to do this. And it's going to be even more effective when we're listening to the Spirit. You don't have to wait to know for sure that God is telling you to tell somebody something nice about them. A lot of times God speaks to us and we didn't even know it, but it's a good exercise to be listening to the Spirit specifically for what to say. Another tip, make it more about who they are and less about what they do. It's actually really great to say something nice about what people do. Don't stop that, but even try to go deeper and encourage them about who they are. It was cool that they served at Renew the City this weekend coming up. But so you could tell them that. I admire that you spent your time doing that, but maybe you could encourage them saying, wow, you really have a heart for people that need help, and I think that is going to impact people in a huge way. However you say it. Other people are better at encouragement than me, that's for sure. But however you say it, try to go to the level of who they are and not just what they do. And finally, my final tip, to encourage other people, encouragement is kind of put under a magnifying glass if you do it in public. If you can encourage somebody, if you're in a whole group of friends and you notice you and your friend have been talking about something, don't break their confidence, but you notice something really cool about your friend, or you're introducing them to somebody new, take the opportunity to encourage your friend in front of other people, because for some reason when you're encouraged in front of somebody else, it's magnified. Like I said, those are like the cinder blocks, and when you're building somebody up, and it makes people feel really good. So I'm going to cut it off there. You guys are going to go into discussion groups. I think whoever's leading tonight is going to guide you into that. Thank you again for being at Young Adults, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.
All right, guys, so we're going to do 15 minutes of the discussion questions. It's the set time. And then after that, you guys are free to do whatever you want. And just before I forget, there's one more announcement. Elliot Perkins, he's starting a young adult golf club. So if you're interested in becoming part of that, or you want to hear some more information, you can go talk to Elliot. Elliot, can you just raise your hand for those that don't know you? That's Elliot right over there. All right, so yeah, we're just going to jump into some discussion questions now.
Joy that doesn't fade away. Pull the stars from the sky. Tell the dark to turn the light. Tell the dead to come alive. Oh, if I could hear just one word from your mouth, I will drop all my doubts, and I'll drop my defenses. Oh, if I could hear you speak my name, the curse will break, blood will pump through my veins again, and I'll come to my senses. 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 Too many times, yeah, messing up the same old ways. I pushed you away. What more can I say? But you were there when no one else was. Too much pride to take your help, but oh, I can't do it on my own. I've come so far to be left here. These walls don't fall the way they used to.
this crown slipping off of my head. Please don't ignore all these tears by my bed. Cause I can't do it. I can't do it on my own. I can't do it on my own. I won't do it on my own. I can't do it. I can't do it. Tell me why I cannot see the things you have for me. Feels like I'm so lonely, aping on my own. And I don't know what to say, cause I'm really not okay. But I'ma tell you what you need to know. I have tried this many times before, and I really can't do this on my own. Cause it really makes me feel like I'm lost. Cause I can't do it. I can't do it on my own. I can't do it on my own. I won't do it on my own. Cause I can't do it. I can't do it, no, no. I can't do it, no, no. Tell me who hurt ya. Tell me who lied to ya. Tell me who stopped the growth and trampled hope inside ya. Who's the accuser? Step down and abuse ya. I am your future. All these rumors going down, down.
He gon' take your bitterness and give you joy. He gon' take your broken heart and make it whole. He gon' paint the skull and turn it white as snow. He gon' take it all. He gon' take it all. Catch you before you fall. Be still, all things change when he speaks. Oh, peace, be still. Here comes the storm in me.
Tell me who hurt ya. Tell me who lied to ya. Tell me who cast the stone and set your dreams on fire. I'm your future, and you want me to that. Learn to be patient. All these rumors going down, down.
He gon' take your bitterness and give you joy. He gon' take your broken heart and make it whole. He gon' paint the skull and turn it white as snow. He gon' take it all. He gon' take it all. Catch you before you fall. Be still, all things change when he speaks. Oh, peace, be still. Here comes the storm in me. All things work together for my good, 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 good. All these rumors going down for good, 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 yeah. Be still, all things change when he speaks. Change when he speaks. Peace, be still. Here comes the storm in me. He comes the storm in me.
was just a young soul on the road for the goal with my young hitter. We got angels singing with us. Yeah, I've been thinking about the lamb who was slain for the slum center and the freedom that he give us. Back up, Michael G. Grandma said the one who made the world is calling me. Mama said the one who sunset free is free indeed. Look at the stars, he did all that for me. Hey, when I got bills to my neck and I'm killing my flesh, and I can't live till I rest, and I feel like a wreck. Nah, I won't complain. Just call Jehovah's name, cause he overcame. I know God chose. When I look at the cosmos, the apostles, I could have been lost, bro. I look to the hills to get healed. That's too real. When I'm hurting, it don't matter how I feel. I buzz, kicking it with my thug. Heaven all around me got me flowing like I'm a rug. Therapeutic passages about the prodigal son. I've been gone too long, but I can't bet through nothing but love. I buzz, no beef and no casualties. Mother Mary miracle, I speak with the Nazarene. Fellowship with the brethren, keeping me on my feet. Speaking in Galilee is for freedom. He set you free. I'd be so wrong. I'd be so wrong if I ain't tell you I'm made from dust, so I don't need a medal. I'm planning to die every day of my life. You probably knew that from hearing me. Elevate the trouble, we rebel, we rebel, we prevail. We came from hell, we got it out the mud. We ain't for sale. I told you I'm on the trail. I'm holding the holy grail. I only boast in the nails. I only wrote it to show you the only one who won't fail. That's God. Yahweh, not Jay, not Kanye. I be in the hallway singing hallelujah. If I die at all, then my life will spawn in Messiah's arms. You can write a song, I'ma write a song till we find the ambiance. I am not the cell, I'm the mitochondria. I can never fail, boy, I'm Michael Conley raw. Rappers trying hard to spar. I rap for free, I don't sell bars. Really, I just rap to you free from sale bars. Y'all wanna be top tier? Sayonara. Only top tier I want is the cry of God. Only top tier I want is the cry of God. Only top tier. Never mind. Praying, Lord, help me, please. I'm on my knees like a cross, babe. I can get all I need from the breeze. When I stargaze, we gon' testify. We gon' testify all day. We gon' testify. We gon' testify always. Pray, Lord, help me, please. I'm on my knees like a cross, babe. I can get all I need from the breeze. When I stargaze, we gon' testify. We gon' testify all day. We gon' testify. We gon' testify always.
Mercy, morning by morning, never stops rising. It's new every day. Mercy, sweet as the sunrise, bright as the daylight, after the rain. I've walked through the valley control tomorrow. But I can trust you here today. And I will follow till the promised day when everything fades. Mercy days, mercy, morning by morning, never stops rising. It's new every day. Oh, your mercy, Lord, mercy, sweet as the sunrise, bright as the daylight. Y'all want to sing that again? Come on. After the rain, singing about your mercy, Lord. Mercy, mercy, morning by morning, never stops rising, never stops rising. Oh, it's new every day. Your mercy, Lord, mercy, oh, sweet as the sunrise, bright as the daylight, after the rain. Bright as the daylight, after the rain. Bright as the daylight, after the rain.
Heaven came and kissed the earth. Prophets long ago foretold his birth. He became the living word to show the human heart its worth. Whoa, whether I'm in want or plenty, whether I'm in health or ill, our God promises his children he will. He'll bind up the brokenhearted. Oh, he will. He'll set captives free from darkness. Oh, he will. He'll breathe hope into forget the moment I heard you call my name out of the grip of darkness into the light of grace, just like Lazarus. Oh, you brought me back to life. And where there was dead religion, now there is living faith. All of my hope and freedom I found in Jesus' name. Just like Lazarus, oh, you brought me back to life. No longer I who live, but Christ in me. For I've been born again. My heart is free. The hope of heaven before me. The grave behind. Hallelujah. You brought me back to life. When something says I am guilty, I point to the price you paid. When something says I'm not worthy, I point to that empty grave. Just like Lazarus, oh, you brought me back to life. No longer I who live, but Christ in me. For I've been born again. My heart is free. The hope of heaven before me. The grave behind. Hallelujah. You brought me back to life. How can I begin to thank you for all that you've done for me? Jesus, to fully praise you, it will take all eternity. Just like Lazarus, oh, you brought me back to life. Oh, you brought me back to life. Oh, you brought me back to life. Yeah. Oh, you brought me back to life. And no longer I who live, but Christ in me. For I've been born again. My heart is free. The hope of heaven before me. The grave behind. Hallelujah. You brought me back to life. No longer I who live, but Christ in me. For I've been born again. My heart is free. The hope of heaven before me. The grave behind. Hallelujah. You brought me back to life. Oh, you brought me back to life. Hey. And the enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said, "You are mine." Oh, the enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said, "You are mine." The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said, "You are mine." The enemy thought he had me. Oh, yes, he did. The enemy thought he had me. Jesus said, "You are mine." The enemy thought he had me, but Jesus said, "You are mine." The enemy thought he had
instincts are guiding me like a beast to some blood, and I can't get enough. I'm losing control, my body, my soul are slowly fading away, but I'm ready now to feel the power of change. I'm my mother's child, I'm my father's son. It took me a while, but my time has come to be born again. To be born again. Running scared in between what I hate and what I need. Savior and enemy are both trying to take my soul, and I can't hide no more. Stumble out into the light, raise my fists up to fight.